Welcome back, Hodlers. Today we're going to be talking about some of the big news that's happening in cryptocurrency, which is the United States regulations. And I'm going to also talk about why it impacts the rest of the world. Well, of course, because the United States is probably one of the biggest markets out there. So we'll cover some news and then we'll go into Bitcoin hitting some critical levels on the chart. If you do like this content, go ahead and give me a like. It really helps share these videos out and subscribe for more crypto news and content. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the first piece of news, Charles Hoskinson came on roughly 17 hours on a live stream and discussed some of his thoughts on the crypto regulations. We will play a clip of that to discuss that. Now, Charles and I might not always agree, but I do think at least he is right on this, that we do need to team up here and be a combined effort to make critical changes for regulations, because if we don't make these changes, it does kind of hand the financial system, the future of the financial system, to other countries outside of the United States and North America. Me specifically, I live in Canada, so it does directly affect me, even though we're in a different country. So I do think a lot of what happens down south does impact us up here, and it does ripple around throughout the world. But it will benefit some countries that are crypto friendly. That might mean some unsavory countries, in our opinions, to gain control over the financial system. Now, I do agree with a lot of what Charles had mentioned in his live stream and specifically about what's happening in politicians. Because right now there are two bills coming to a head and there's incredible disagreement happening among both bills. Now, irregardless of what you think on politics, whether you're left-leaning or right-leaning, at the end of the day, I think the statistic is 73% of Americans agree on the main bill to pass. But there's this constant fight between politicians to just not give up any ground on either side. So you're seeing both issues on the left and the right. And it's really causing a backlog within regulations that need to happen because there is no clarity in crypto. I just want to play this quick clip from Charles to get his opinion on what he thinks regulators are currently doing.
We will hold the politicians who vote for these things accountable. We're not going to forget. The whole point of the blockchain industry is we write everything down. It's immutable, it's timestamped, it's auditable, and that includes votes. And I'm very tired of people brutalizing and attacking our industry that's creating jobs and creating value and revolutionizing things for the sake because we don't have a strong enough lobby to protect ourselves. And this is just another in a long line of counterproductive things that comes down the pipe that just hurts everybody here and hands those jobs, hands that economic output and the future of finance to other countries. People often ask me, why are we so invested in Africa, in the developing world, and South America and Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia? Because at least there, the governments are willing to work with us and pass legislation that benefits job creation and embraces our industry. At least there. The same for the state of Wyoming. Then we see this monstrosity being proposed today and backed up by a White House that asserts it's environmentally friendly, yet backs the single dirtiest, most energy-consuming industry within our industry, the mining industry, over the guys who use no energy, the green validators. Why? Because they have no fucking clue what they're doing. Zero, zilch, none. They're just idiot children barking into the wind, claiming that they're doing something productive, while they harm the very entrepreneurs that they should be embracing to revolutionize and reform the government to get us out of all these things. I will remind you, our deficit is huge. Our debt's in the tens of trillions of dollars. There's zero plan to pay back any of the debt that we have. There's zero plan to ever have a balanced budget again. How does our GDP grow us out of this when inflation is now sitting at 6%, if not more, when historically it was at 3%? How do you plan for retirement when inflation is going to get to a point where it grows faster than the ROI of stocks? Historically, we've had 7 to 9%. You need to invent new industries or embrace new industries if you're going to do this. And right here, right now, there's a bill in Congress working its way through that has every intention to catastrophically damage and create ambiguity in our industry for no other reason than just because.
So obviously he's pretty opinionated, and I do agree with a lot of his sentiment. It is kind of sounding like a pissing match at this point. And regulators have been asleep at the wheel anyway. You look at what the SEC has done over the course of even 5 years, even before that. Look at all the Elon Musk tweets that have gone out and manipulated the market. Look at the Save the Kids token and this scheme that happened with Sam Pepper and a few other people. Look at all of these pump and dumps that are happening, but just now the regulators care because they want to pay back some of the deficit here. They want to pay back some bills. Now, I also watched the Gary Gensler discussion, and he basically said similar things. And you need to be careful of what's happening with the cryptocurrency market. It's a lot of speculation. And there's basically saying that there's no regulators that are having your back, that are protecting the people, which has been fairly evident with all the pump and dumps that we've been seeing. And we also see a lot of these crypto scams at its peak and money laundering happening with crypto, but the regulators are really asleep at the wheel and just looking at these big ticket items that are doing nothing. So it does just seem like there is just a bunch of children flailing in the wind. So I completely agree with that sentiment. And also, there's a clear lack of understanding about the differences between proof of work and proof of stake and how they work. Now, the CEO of FTX actually made a statement here about the lack of understanding. So he basically said that he was interested to hear from any senator that was aware of the difference between the consensus mechanisms of proof of stake and proof of work. And he basically he said, I'd bet the farm that nobody knows the actual difference between the two, which I kind of agree with him. We're getting to the point in politics where a lot of our politicians are old and don't understand the new uprising technology. Now is the time for fresh blood. Now is the time for younger politicians, and maybe even swap out some of these regulators that actually know what's going on. I'm just saying right now there is a need for regulation in the cryptocurrency market. That's clear with all the pump and dumps and all the security nonsense that is happening with some tokens. But ultimately, we need to look at this in a healthy way to foster innovation and not snuff it out. So obviously, Congress is going to the floor with this bill to see what happens, whether or not they can get this voted through. I will say that I'm not completely knowledgeable about the entire bill, more so the cryptocurrency aspect side. So I don't know what the ins and outs are of the bill, whether it's good or bad. Keep that in mind. And I'm not trying to take a political position here. All I'm saying is that we need good regulations within cryptocurrency and ones that don't hurt us and in fact help us. So some that provide clarity so there's not ambiguity in the market, which currently there is tons of ambiguity. We're at no shortage of ambiguity. Going over Bitcoin, Bitcoin has hit a critical level, hitting $42,000 and holding. Now I did say I remain the right to be bullish under 42,000 and at 42,000 if it hasn't shown some force up there. Now it's still a little too early to tell. We're 3 hours away from our daily candle close. We could close again and then we could go shoot higher. It all depends. I would like to see us above this level for a little bit longer, maybe roughly a couple of days to, if not a week or more. And then I could probably get a little bit more realistic that, hey, we're going to get a little bit more bullish. Now, again, I know a lot of people are still thinking September, and just to keep that in mind, sure, we can still consider September, but actively we have 7 weeks left because now we are at the end of the first week of August. So countdown is now, we're counting down 7 weeks until the end of your bull market should happen. But of course, I'm thinking that we're going to have an extended market, so we're going to go a little bit longer, and we'll probably spend that 7 weeks making up for lost ground and picking up and going back up to maybe $52,000. So I'm not super bullish on hitting 100,000 anytime soon, but I do think at this point we are going to make up some ground and we could actually get out of this hole that we've seen ourselves in. So obviously this is a glimmer of light. This isn't a complete hope. Because again, if we don't have a lot of support above this level, which right now we don't really have tons of support, if we don't have a lot of support at this level, then I'm not too confident that we're going to stay above it for the short term. Now, maybe some of you are wondering, what do I mean about support? Well, you see this line that I have drawn that we kind of broke, this $42,000 line. You kind of see that this line was almost a line of support and resistance, and I'll explain that here. Now I have the line drawn just a little bit down, mainly because I wanted to illustrate this, but you can see here where this was the peak of resistance here, where we stopped at roughly the 42,000, just above the 42,000. But you do see the wick down to 42,000. Now you see numerous times we actually stopped there in our wicks, and then eventually, once we broke through, we shot right down. Why is that? Because that's a line of support. That's a line that's been built up over the course of the chart, over the course of time. And you can see here that we hit that line of resistance because we're below it. We hit the line of resistance, pumped above it, and then that became a line of support. So just as we pumped above it here, I would expect something not of the similar gravitas, not as big, but very similar in force to get above that line to initiate it as a line of support. So anything that is a line of resistance turns into a line of support if we go above it and below it. And this can be indicated by dropping a trend line on wherever the chart is kind of meeting in a way. So obviously you can see here that we were kind of rejected at that line as well and shot down below 42,000, Now we're fighting again with it. So this doesn't mean that we're going above it just yet. It means that we still have a little bit more fighting to do. If we can survive around here for a little bit longer, it could be very bullish in where Bitcoin's going to go in the near term. But of course, I personally think that we are going to just trade within this zone, maybe make our way up a little bit, but eventually work our way back up to 52,000. Once we do get to our 52,000 mark, that's when I would probably say that the bull market is back on. We've re-engaged, and we most likely go ahead and continue on a market peak at some point in 2022. But again, I think this is going to take a few months, and I don't think that this is going to happen by the end of September, but I guess I could be proven wrong. And I've also been watching a couple of videos. People were talking about this dip here and even like up here. And I think it was Alex Becker specifically that was talking about, like, the chart was here, and he was basically saying, I told you guys the bull market's over. I told you guys I made the best trade. Look at me. I sold at the top. I got out here. You guys all held diamond hands. You know, why would you hold? And this anti-holding ideology. And while I kind of get his perspective, and while I understand some people saying, well, I held in 2017 and I regretted it, a lot of those people just entered in the bull market. I would argue to say that anyone holding for more than 2 to 3, 4, 5 plus years, anyone holding 5 years plus is definitely making a good ROI in the long term. So of course, you know, holders are always going to do better than just traders or short-term holders. And there's nothing wrong with taking profits. I've said it before. I have profit videos on my channel telling you exactly how to take profits. Dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out. Pick a target, start selling at that target. Make sure you have some to pay off any debt that you might have, buy a house, get your life in order. I've said this numerous times, but if you hold for the long term and have a hodl bag to take it long term, you're going to do well in 5+ years. It's going to happen. The market class is still so new. We're still super, super early to all of this. So to think that, oh, hey, everything's done and everything's over at this peak here. And of course, he's not saying it's done forever, but he still said, like, I got the top and you guys all lost out. This is a pop off top. It's not a pop off top. This isn't what happened. That's not at all the representation of what Bitcoin's actually doing. But a lot of people are saying, hey, we're going to the top now, which I think is an equally dangerous idea. But hey, so there is obviously a lot of theories. There's the theories that we're going to hit the market peak at the end of September. There's theories that we already hit the market peak. And then there's also theory that we're going to go through a lengthened market cycle that is extended, and most likely it'll pick back up and we'll see a market peak by the end of 2022 or 2023. But I would argue that right now I'm the most bearish I've ever been on this channel. And the only reason I'm this bearish is because of the charts. So it is what it is. That's it for me. Hopefully the rant didn't go a little too excessive. If you did like this content, go ahead and give me a like. Subscribe to the channel for more crypto news and content. And catch me tomorrow, 11 a.m., Coffee and Crypto. There'll be a call-in structure as well, so you can call in and ask a question if you'd like to. Definitely go ahead and check that out. All right, everyone. Happy hodling.